Front starting to roll in. Damn it. Not good. Alright guys, so I've got the head mount on this video. It's something I kind of was dreading, but I knew I had to try out because I already tried the chest mount, and with the camera angle and everything, it's really difficult to catch a lot of what's going on between the reel, casting, and fighting a fish. So I went ahead and put it on. I'm going to give it a shot. Let's see how it goes. I'm kind of excited to see the footage.
Gotta bite, gotta bite. I think I got a lot of stress on my mind. It's a nice day to go. Yeah, I got a line. I'ma call the whole team.
Alright guys, so right here I've got some menhaden that I had previously frozen, but I noticed when I cast it out the first time, I split the head in half from the cast. It flew off into two different pieces. So I figured, you know what, let me try some bait elastic on this bait to see if I can keep it together so I can make a good cast and get it out there. So let's see if this, I know it should work. I mean, I do this with blue crab and all kinds of other baits that are real soft and stuff like that. The deal with menhaden, when you freeze it, you gotta salt it so it kind of toughens up the meat and the skin to hold it a lot better, and it'll also keep it fresher longer, kind of deal. But I forgot to do that with these baits. That's why I'm using it myself. So let's go ahead and see how this works. Alright guys, so I've gotten asked this multiple times by subscribers in person. They're like, why do you keep showing when you backlash and or you know, when the cast doesn't go perfect? I said, because I'm just like everybody else. I will backlash with the best of them. But the beauty about the braid I'm using, and that's why I leave it in there, is to show the amount of abuse that it takes when we are fishing with it. And we are being upfront about everything, guys. Like I said before, we are not the typical YouTube channel that you find on the internet that only show the good. I'm going to show you the good, the bad, the ugly, and the worst, because it's being real. Like, this is what, when you invest into a good product, this is the kind of product that you can expect to have and to be able to use. And right there you can see the little bit of a burn on it, but I'm going to go and check out the line. Normally stuff like that, I cut out that area and I splice it back in. However, I'm going to go ahead and check it out and test it. And what I'm going to do is basically do a stress pull, you know, with the braid in both hands. And normally if it's burned, it'll split right there. It doesn't hold back anything. But, you know, I'm also making a judgment call because I am in the tournament. I'm trying to keep as much line on the reel as possible. So once I get down there and I feel that it's okay, I'm going to go and fish with it and go from there. But I've got to make that judgment call, you know what I mean? So now that I found the spot, I'm going to go and lock it up between both hands and pull on it really good and see if it'll pop and see what happens. If it does, then it tells me, hey, I got to let it go. Well, right there you can see it's not splitting apart, so I'm going to go and leave it be, go and keep fishing with it, and we're going to go and go from there. One of the other things that I was trying to catch on video was me reeling in the way I do, and basically the way I spool up my reels here at the shop. And you know, that's pretty much nicely packed in there and stuff like that, but you can see how fast I'm cranking in comparison to how fast I'm moving back and forth. I get probably, you know what, I should have counted my cranks per, you know, left to right movement and stuff like that. That was something that I actually learned with the guys that were out there distance casting, that they say they get that technical, that they know how many times they crank left to right, or they crank the handle and guide the line left to right. Fishing on credit. Yep. Also too, real quick, you see how I broke the top shell off and I'm breaking off all the legs? The reason why I'm doing that is because I'm trying to make the bait as aerodynamic as possible, so that way when I say I'm doing a 100-yard cast, I am doing a 100-yard cast. We've actually out there at this pier, they had PVC pipe that was out there, and they asked me, they go, how far do you think that is? And I sat there for a minute looking, and I said, man, I think that's right at about 80 yards. One of his
another one?
Brother said, damn, he's all, that's good. He's all, some guy
you threw it back?
Hit it with a rangefinder and said it was exactly 82 yards. And I was like, yeah, that's right, you know. I was just eyeballing it first time being out on the pier kind of deal. And it was just interesting to see, and using the things around us, you know, to gauge where we're casting. And that's very important, guys, because I've seen it too many times where I'm out there fishing and getting that extra 20 yards on cast has really made a difference in whether I'm catching fish or I don't catch fish, especially when they're not up close. There's a lot of times when fish are all over the place, which is awesome, but I love the fact that I can be able to use the technique, the forms that I'm doing, everything from my bait preparation, you know, by putting it in pantyhose, and the size of weight I decide to use, the style I decide to use. There's a whole bunch of things that go into play for it. And we were using the surf weights out there because they say there's a pretty good current, so that's what I was doing. I was going off of their lead and stuff like that, so slinging it back, and there you go. Look how awesomely it casts off there. And again, that only overran once the weight hit the water, and I was kind of looking at the reel again too, you know, I can't really see what I'm recording when I have the head mount on there, and it does make it kind of difficult, but I just wanted to give you all a little more perspective on what I'm seeing as I'm walking around the pier, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, rigging my bait, reeling my reels in, and getting the line onto the reel. All of that plays into effect on how I fish, where I fish, what I fish for. I mean, everything, you know, it's a changing game, guys, you know, it really is. So the first time I fished this pier, I didn't have any menhaden, but once I knew that they could catch reds there, I was like, you know what, maybe I'll take some of my own bait, and that's where I brought the menhaden. And I only brought like 8 of them or whatever that was in the bag, just to test them out to see if they would work out there, because that was some of the other discussions that I had with the guys that fished this pier. I asked them if they'd ever used sea lice, and they go, no. They're like, you can't even get it in those areas. And the further north you go, even to like Galveston and Houston area, like they're like, what's that? Like they say they catch them, but very rarely in the shrimp boats kind of deal. And I was like, man, I said, you know, so it's got me thinking, what if we did take that type of bait out there to catch big black drum? I mean, is it something they look forward to, or is it like a rarity for them to even eat that type of bait? I mean, we don't know. and we're starting to see all kinds of fish eat all kinds of different kind of baits and everything else. I mean, that was a discussion I had with an old school sharker, well, Mr. Joe Gold, Mr. BB, Joe Trejo, Jose Trejo was his name, but everybody calls him BB for short. He was the one who introduced me to Bob Hall Pier when I was 12 years old. And from there, I just started learning everything I could about fishing. One of the things I did notice about maybe 5 years ago was that I started seeing black drum being caught using bait. And so I was like, man, I wonder if it's just me that I noticed that, or has other people noticed it too? And, you know, I called him up and he goes, no, it's about 5 years ago. And I was like, man, I was right on the money that I started noticing that. And he was saying, you know, he's thinking a lot of it has to do with a lot of the bait being depleted in the bays and stuff like that, not being what it was. So these big old predators are having to change up what they eat and how they eat. And I believe too it has a lot to do with those dead zones that we did have those several years. I mean, the Bay of Corpus Christi had a big old dead triangle there for a minute, like there was no oxygen in there, so it killed a lot of the fish and a lot of the bait that needs oxygen in the water. And then we've also had, you know, it's been about 5 years that we had the red tide hit our local waters here and stuff like that. So it does make a big difference. But I'm glad I'm finally getting some of this video of the braid coming off the reel to show the guys that watch the spooling library and question, like, if you were reeling up like that or spooling somebody's reel like that, they can't cast it or it can't be casted. Well, here's proof, guys. I mean, every time I throw a cast, yeah, you can say, oh, it's off to the side, and there's doubt, you know, and I can understand that. So this is the best way with this head mount that I was able to catch that type of footage for you while I was out here fishing. This is the Lighthouse Pier in Port Lavaca, and like I said, it's probably the second time that I've actually gone out there and fished it, but I'm definitely going to be putting some more time out there that way. So good luck, guys.